the Detroit Lions might be moving on from one of their favorite receiving weapons going into the 2026 season. Who is it? Well, there's rumors that Sam LaPorta might be moved, whether it's before the draft or even during the draft, for a trade-up scenario where the Lions could potentially go get the edge to pair next to Aiden Hutchinson. Now, it's a big move. There's a couple mock trades, and there's also just some other rumors around it. A lot of them are coming from NFL reporters or ESPN reporters like Dan Graziano, or even another one, a trade proposal from Eric Edholm talking about, again, a guy like Ben Sinnott being brought back from the Commanders in a trade for Sam LaPorta, which also gives the Lions the 7th overall pick. There's a lot happening there. Why should the Lions do it, or maybe why shouldn't the Lions do it? I love Sam LaPorta. Actually, my household loves Sam LaPorta. My wife thinks he's a really attractive guy. That's a whole different story. But today, we're going to break down the validity of this and why it should or shouldn't happen, and really just my take on the situation. But maybe broadly, I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm also a little concerned about what the Lions do. I don't want them to miss out on some value here. When you look at the cap situation right now for the Lions, you realize that we've only got $24.5 million left in 2026 to spend. Not only that, going into 2027, we've got a pretty similar situation where we've got only $61 million left on the cap, while at the same time needing to pay Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jack Campbell. Now, of course, Brian Branch, first and foremost, is coming off the Achilles tear, and you know what? He's probably going to get a contract in the $20 million range, but we're probably going to have to pay Brian Branch because of the unknowns with Kirby Joseph. Again, I think Kirby Joseph is going to be back. A lot of people just don't think his knee he's really ever going to recover, but we've seen Brian Branch and how vital of a defender he is for our defense. Not only that, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to get probably a record-setting contract because he's just been otherworldly. He's been the best running back in the NFL on a per-touch basis for the last couple of years. He's been incredible, and especially with David Montgomery gone, it only gives further validity to the fact that the Detroit Lions are going to pay Jahmyr Gibbs because he can do everything. And we're hearing, even just from our offensive coordinator, from Dan Campbell as well, that we're probably going to see him used more as a receiving weapon as well in this year, which is going to be really interesting and fun to see. But not only that, again, we have to pay Jack Campbell, who was a first-round pick a couple of years ago, but we're going to probably have the fifth-year option picked up with him. But still, in probably next year, we're going to have to attribute $23 million a year for a contract with him. Again, the top of the market for a middle linebacker role like this, especially when he's playing at such an elite level, is $20 to $22 or $23 million a year. And all of that being said, Sam LaPorta is probably going to get a contract in the range of Kittle or Trey McBride at like the $19 to $20 million per year, despite the fact he's coming off of this back injury. Now, that being said, with the Lions' context in mind of their cap situation, and the fact that Sam LaPorta was drafted in 2023 as a later or as a player who doesn't get the fifth-year option, right, in the second round, he needs to get a new contract, or else we go into 2027 basically hoping for a compensatory pick, basically hoping for a third-round pick if he gets a contract somewhere else. Or we could trade him or utilize him as an asset to trade up and then, again, get an edge player that, one of those top tier edge guys in the top 10, and in potentially, even in the trade I showed you a moment ago, potentially get a guy like Ben Sinnott, who probably in the eyes of the Commanders isn't this high-flying name right now. Again, there's real reasons that Sam LaPorta's name is in the trade mix around the league. It's these contract needs that we're going to have to pay the cornerstones of our team. I love Sam LaPorta as a tight end of the Lions. We really don't have any household names even behind LaPorta. And the fact is this draft, we could potentially draft one in the third, fourth, and fifth round. We could draft two of them in a couple rounds. There's some guys, even in the second round, that are elite level tight ends, just like Sam LaPorta was coming out. Now, will we get an immediate level of production? Will Jared Goff have an immediate connection with him as a receiving option? Absolutely not. But the back injury of LaPorta does give me pause. How many times, whether it be his first year where he hurt his knee or his back here recently, he's been nicked up a lot. And so the injury risk plus the looming payday puts me on alert that he actually might be on the trade block, because there's other teams in better cap situations that absolutely could attribute funds to him. Again, with the Lions only having $24 million this year, $61 million next year, and 3 major contracts coming up, along with all the other free agents and the draft picks of the next year, it just, somebody's going to have to go. And my question for us right now, is it going to be Sam LaPorta? We can't get out of a Kirby Joseph contract. We're going to have to, in light of even that, we're going to have to secure ourselves by paying a guy like Brian Branch. And we know that we can't lose the core of our defense in Jack Campbell. So here's maybe an honest answer of whether it's going to happen or not. I don't know. People around the league are suggesting it will happen. But when, again, I look at that back injury and I look at this tight end class, I think the Lions are going to want to draft. I think Brad Holmes is going to want to draft 2 tight ends going into this season. I know we need edge. I know we need offensive line, guard and tackle. But at the same exact time, this tight end class is deep. It doesn't really have, maybe Kenyon Sadiq and Eli Stowers are at the top of this list in the top 30, top 40 picks. But really, the next 3 rounds after that, there's some guys who could absolutely be contributors in jumbo sets or in niche roles as pass blockers or in niche roles as receiving weapons. Again, a potential of landing a top 10 edge alongside Aiden Hutchinson and on a rookie contract at that could be exactly what the Detroit Lions need to really make a difference on this defense going into 2026. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, but maybe here's how I'm just processing through it. LaPorta is definitely one of Jared Goff's favorite targets and weapons, but we've got Jahmyr Gibbs, J-Mo, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, who none of them are showing decline right now. Sam LaPorta is a Pro Bowl potential plus level player in his prime. Detroit doesn't want to move him, but again, even as we saw with the recent Taylor Decker stuff, it might be more about the football team than it is about an individual football player. Brad Holmes is a very calculated general manager. If someone calls with an offer that moves Detroit into the top 10, or maybe Brad Holmes makes that call and saves $80 million or saves, at the end of the day, maybe $70 million on a contract and gets a tight end and a top tier edge, I think that's smart business. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments on if the Lions should make a move like this. I think it's plausible. I think it could be helpful for the team. If Brad Holmes picks up the phones right now and potentially gets into the top 10 with some of these names in the edge group, or even just, some of these even receiving threats, it could really move the needle for this team. And all that being said, I hope you have a great day. Again, subscribe to the channel, join the community. We'll see you later.